Welcome back, dear viewers, as we are continuing this live coverage of the Senate elections 2025. And now we are delighted to be joined by our Nile TV correspondent, Ahmed Nader from the National Elections Authority. Ahmed, do you hear me?
Yes, Reem, I can hear you. Reem, can you hear me?
Ahmed, so you can hear me well. So first of all, I would like to welcome you, and please put us in the picture. What's new and what are the updates regarding the election process? Tell us more updates.
Yes, Reem, exactly an hour ago at 4 p.m. we have seen the press conference conducted by Councillor Ahmed Binderi, the executive head of the executive committee, or the head of the executive committee of the National Elections Authority. The virtual meeting, the usual meeting that we are used to over the past couple of days, as the Senate elections are heading to a conclusion, to an end, and they have already ended in 13 polling stations all over the world at 5 p.m. Cairo local time. This means that they began at 9 a.m. and ended at 9 p.m. according to their different time zones. And as I mentioned an hour ago, we have seen the virtual meeting between Councillor Binderi and several ambassadors and diplomatic missions all over the world. We do know that we have 136 polling stations all over the world in different countries, and more specifically 117 countries. They began the virtual meeting with the interaction between Councillor Binderi and the ambassador of Egypt in the Czech Republic, and he started by thanking the efforts of the National Elections Authority. And of course, on the other hand, Councillor Binderi thanked the embassies all over the world, and more specifically in the Czech Republic, as all the staff was there in the embassy of Egypt in the Czech Republic, and their main aim was to be raising awareness for the Egyptians back there, for the Egyptian expatriates to be voting, to be going, and to be finishing as smoothly, as swiftly, as quickly as possible for the Egyptian expatriates. The ambassador of Egypt in the Czech Republic, he mentioned that the main sole aim for the staff of the Egyptian embassy back there was to be serving the citizens, and they have moved from the Czech Republic to Stockholm in Sweden. And Ambassador Ahmed Subhi, he said that this is the second day, of course, of voting for the Egyptian expatriates for the Senate elections for the upcoming round of 2025 until 2030, expecting more numbers and a bigger turnout. And he mentioned that the turnout of the Egyptian expatriates was not as expected, and it was not as big as expected on the first day, but hopefully more voters will come, as he mentioned that yesterday and today they began at 9 a.m. They concluded the voting process at 9 p.m. with a breaking hour at 3 p.m. and until 4 p.m. He thanked the National Elections Authority, and he hoped for more voters over the upcoming 4 or 5 hours, because we do know that the break would be ending at 4, or already ended at 4 p.m. local time in Sweden. For example, this means that the final stretch will be concluded in 4 to 5, maybe 6 hours at the most of the consulates and most of the embassies of Egypt all over the world. Dr. Gamil Mitwalli, the ambassador of Egypt in Oslo, Norway, he said that yesterday, the first day of the election for the Senate, it was calm, it was stable, and he has thanked the officials in Norway, in Oslo, for securing the elections, for securing the Egyptian expatriates going to the consulate or going to the embassy in Norway as quickly, as smoothly as possible, to be voting and going back to their destinations or to their home. And he mentioned that it will be 6 hours until the conclusion of the voting process, and After the conclusion of the voting process, we will be having the vote counting in different countries all over the world, in 117 countries. He mentioned Dr. Gamal Mitwalli, the ambassador of Egypt in Norway. He mentioned that 8 governorates witnessed participation from the citizens living in Norway, the Egyptian expatriates, mainly Cairo and Alexandria. Ambassador Amira Mustafa, she mentioned that in Burundi, facilitations were there to be having a bigger number of voters, facilitating the votes for the Egyptian expatriates. This is the second day. She assured us, or she assured Councillor Ahmed bin Dari, that the first day it began at 9 a.m., it concluded at 9 p.m., and today is business as usual. Nothing is expected different than that. And she thanked the officials in the African country of Burundi as well. She mentioned that, of course, it was the breaking out from 3 p.m. until 4 p.m. and there were some technical problems, but they were solved. Reem, I think you can hear me now, that the technical problems, they were solved, according to Councillor Ahmed bin Dari and the different ambassadors. Councillor Khalid Atallah, he said that voters were flocking and the voting would be ending in 6 hours' time, and he mentioned that 5 constituencies witnessed a turnout by the Egyptian expatriates, namely Cairo, Giza, Alexandria, Daqahliya, Qalyubiyya, and there were also interactions by Councillor bin Dari through the video conference with the officials in Rome, for example, in Frankfurt, in Germany. As the ambassador said, or the consul mentioned, that the voting would be taking minutes, only minutes, from 9 a.m. till 9 p.m., but the voting itself would be taking minutes. But bigger numbers are expected along the day, and that the vote counting will be starting after the conclusion by the National Elections Authority and, of course, by the embassies, the respective embassies in different countries all over the world. But Councillor bin Dari stated that the operations room, it will be responsible for the vote counting as well. Ambassador Nader Saad, he thanked the National Elections Authority. He is in Sofia, Bulgaria, and he also said that the electronic system being applied by the National Elections Authority, it was of a great help for the voters, for the officials, for the ambassador, for everyone related to the process of the voting at the Senate elections for the upcoming round until 2030. He mentioned the importance of the digital transformation, and he also said that they had the same time zone as in Cairo. Ambassador Mohammed Ghunaim, for example, from Finland, and responsible for Slovenia, or Estonia as well, I'm sorry. He said that they had the same time zone, and he thanked the National Elections Authority for their efforts. Ambassador Nader Ashadli from Djibouti, the African country, he said that whenever the Egyptians come to vote at the Senate elections, at the voting stations, at the polling stations in Djibouti, they feel connected to their homeland. They feel connected, they feel the patriotism when they talk about Egypt, and they come and they feel the responsibility of helping the country in this legislative right for the citizens and for the Egyptian expatriates. He said that everything was smooth in Djibouti, that everything started at 9 a.m. It concluded at 9 p.m. yesterday, with about 4 or 5 hours left for today as well. These are the last hours, and he thanked the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the National Elections Authority as well. Ambassador Ali Abdelminam.
Important to ask you about the alignment between the embassies, the different embassies, and also the consulates with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, so that the electoral process is running smoothly, as you have mentioned, also as all the ambassadors mentioned in the latest meeting that we have just covered live. If you would like to mention more updates regarding this point.
Yes, two important points, as you mentioned, Reem, because we have had Councillor Heidi Sirri from Marseille in France and Consul Delia Abdel Fattah in Hamburg. They had a bit more details as Councillor Heidi Sirri. She thanked, of course, the efforts of the National Elections Authority and, as you mentioned, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in organizing the expatriates elections for the Senate for the upcoming round, or this round, from 2025 until 2030. And she said that they are serving in Marseille. Councillor Heidi Sirri, that they serve Marseille, the south of France, and Monaco, to be specific. They started at 9 a.m., concluded at 9 p.m., business as usual. But she received the Archbishop of the Coptic Church. She said that she oversaw the process of him casting his ballot, him casting the vote, and she said that 5 governorates were represented in Marseille, receiving the voters, business as usual, no problems, and they had no break, which is something that was highlighted by Councillor Ahmed bin Dari, that they had no breaking out from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. They didn't even get to do that, and she thanked the National Elections Authority and Ambassador Nabil Habashi, the Deputy Foreign Minister, for their efforts. Another important detail was by Consul Delia Abdel Fattah in Hamburg, in Germany. She said that the elections were smooth. They have a different time zone, of course, in Europe, and more specifically in Germany. 11 constituencies were represented in those elections, mainly from the Qahliya, Sharqiya, and in Cairo. And she mentioned one important point, is that there was a protest in Hamburg for the human rights in Germany, but this did not stop the Egyptians going to the consulate, going to the embassy in Germany, in Berlin, to be participating in the Senate elections. Reem, they have participated, and the Coptic Church raised the awareness on Sunday, or will be raising the awareness on Sunday for the importance of participating. We have seen on Friday the Friday prayers. She mentioned that during the Friday prayers, or at the end of the Friday prayers in Germany, they wanted, and they did raise the awareness about participating in the National Elections Authority for the elections of the Senate for this round in 2025 until 2030. She said that we are in the summer season. There is no university work, for example, but the students, they insisted on going and participating and casting their ballots in Hamburg, and that they did not even take a break for today. Reem.
So, Ahmed, you are now talking about the spirit of Egyptians, that it is worth acknowledgement, so that they are insisting on casting their ballots, even if there are some obstacles like protests in Germany, as you have mentioned, but the electoral process itself is running smoothly. And here I would like to ask you about the sense of belonging and the connection and the bond between Egyptians abroad in this very important event that is unifying them to choose who they want to be as a representative in the Egyptian parliament.
Yes, you've mentioned a very important point, which is the sense of belonging. And we did see yesterday the statements, and even the day before, the statements by Councillor Ahmed bin Dari, the head of the Executive Committee of the National Elections Authority. And he mentioned specifically that this spirit is evident in the Arab countries, and more even precisely in the GCC countries, Qatar, Oman, Kuwait, Bahrain, the United Arab Emirates, and Saudi Arabia. The numbers of Egyptians going and participating in the elections for the Senate for this year, it is a big number. He did not give us an exact number, because the exact numbers will be unveiled after the end, or after the conclusion of the polling stations, or the electoral process at the polling stations in different countries, in respective countries, in 117 countries. And speaking about the GCC countries, I think they would be having maybe 4 hours to be ending and concluding their work at the polling stations in 6 different countries in the GCC, the Gulf Cooperation Council. But he mentioned that this sense of belonging is so evident at those Arab countries because we can see a big number, unexpected numbers going and participating in the elections, in the polling stations in those different countries. And he said that this is a message from the Egyptians to the world, a sense of belonging, a sense of love, a sense of connection, a sense of patriotism from the Egyptians to the rest of the world. And this was the message over the couple of days that we have seen for the expatriates casting their ballots.
Yes. So Ahmed, also regarding that you are now inside the National Election Authority, and the Executive Director of the National Election Authority, Councillor Ahmed bin Dari, has also mentioned that the authority managed to empower Egyptian citizens abroad to use and execute their constitutional and political rights. So it's not only the alignment and the coordination and providing facilities, but it's also about the empowerment and providing information and empowering them to know the importance of casting their ballots. How did you see this process, and how do you think that Egyptians were benefiting from this service or empowerment that was provided by the National Election Authority?
Yes, Reem, I'm afraid I'll have to be keeping short because they need this setup for another thing here at the National Elections Authority, as I'm being told. But you have mentioned a very important point, that everything is smooth, because we have counted at least 20 different countries for the 4 p.m. Feed, or for the 4 p.m. press conference by Councillor bin Dari. We have seen another press conference, I think, earlier in the day. We are expecting and anticipating another one, I think, in 90 minutes time at 7 p.m. We are expecting another press conference to be speaking about most of the things that took place over the past 2 days, because we didn't hear about any violations. We did hear about some technical problems, because there is a new system, a new database for the ambassadors, for the staff to be working with different consulates and embassies all over the world. Some technical problems related to the digital transformation that we are aiming for under the tenure of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi for the past 10 or 11 years, for the benefit of the Egyptians living within Egypt and for the benefit of the Egyptians living outside of Egypt. What we have heard about no violations, things are smooth in different countries, 117 countries, 136 polling stations. So hopefully everything will be concluded just fine by the end of the day, which is 9 p.m. in different countries, and I think it will be here at 7 p.m. Because one important statistic is that some polling stations, they have already closed. 13 polling stations were concluded or were closed. The voting was concluded there. The vote counting had already started at 4 p.m. Cairo local time in different countries, and that was giving the opportunity for every citizen to vote. And by 7 p.m. The final inauguration of the last polling station will be announced by Councillor bin Dari for the second day of voting for the Egyptian expatriates. Reem.
Thank you so much, Ahmed. Nader, Nile TV's correspondent from the National Election Authority. Thank you so much for all these details. And dear viewers, with pride, we are still covering with you the Senate elections 2025. But let's have a short break and get back to this continuous coverage on Nile TV International.